Welcome to the High Rankings podcast, brought to you by Dispensary-Growth, the preeminent SEO agency only working with premium cannabis dispensaries. In our episodes, we bring you the most up-to-date strategies and tools for your dispensary's SEO game plan so that you can reach the top of the search engine rankings and capitalize on your growing organic traffic to increase your sales. A light-hearted mix of our daily lives and SEO knowledge will leave you laughing and informed so that you keep coming back for the next episode. Welcome back. We're on episode number 98 of the High Rankings podcast. Oh my gosh, 98. Counting down to 100. You can see our faces.
My beautiful face.
Because we had a guest on this week. We had the wonderful Peter Kasper, co-founder and CEO of Terpli. Shockingly, it's been about a year and a half since we've had him on the podcast, which is terrible. Great product.
Right when I it's about a month after I tore my shoulder. I was telling you I still had poopy pants and my shirts were all like slim on, or not slim. They're like baggy on me because I lost like all this weight. And I told my PT guy, like I was thinking back then, like putting myself in that time frame. Like I told my PT guy I looked like a bag of milk, and he just like bust out laughing. Like I couldn't lift, I couldn't exercise, I couldn't do anything. I just looked like a disgusting human.
Bag of milk. Anyway, he's great. Give it a listen. He talks about a cool new product that they have. This time it's in dispensaries, which is fantastic. I really like him. I say that about all of our podcast guests, which to be fair, I'm not going to say, even if I didn't, I wouldn't be like, well, I don't like that person. But
He's cool.
He's just, I don't know, just pick like the easiest people to talk to, honestly. Like even if this wasn't a podcast, I would love to just sit and chill and have a conversation with him. But I feel like I said that exact same thing last time he was on. Like I feel like he's the kind of person that you could sit and have a beer and wings with, and even if you only ever talked about like work stuff, I think it would still be like a great time. You know what I mean? He's just so easy. And I know I say that about everybody, but we do have great guests, so that might be why. Anyway, so give that a listen. It is, it's after daylight savings. I think I bitched about this in the last podcast. I hate it when it goes forward. It just messes everything up, messes the animals up, messes me up, messes everything up. So other than being messed up, what's new with you?
Getting on the ice more, getting more into the routine of I forgot how hard hockey is, competitive hockey is like well, we're all old guys. Beer league hockey is on your body. You're just doing weighted squats for an hour and a half playing goalie. So hips are a little sore, but I'm doing yoga every morning now for about 30 minutes. So like deep stretching and everything, and that's good. I'm trying not to sit down as much too, because that ruins your hip flexors. So just being more active. All in all, being more active. It's a nice day today. I'll probably get out on my bike a little later.
So my friend has back hip issues, and her doctor, maybe it was a chiro, told her that biking, like not the recumbent bike, but like a Peloton type bike.
Yeah.
So basically your mountain bike is really good for helping with hips, tight hips.
Interesting. Okay.
Which I've never heard that before, and I'm not saying it is or isn't true, but I was like, you know what? It doesn't hurt to try it, does it?
Yeah.
So he had told her for a while to avoid the treadmill and focus more on like a Peloton type bike, and see if that helps with like loosening those hips up a little bit.
Biking in general, I've been told biking in general is a great workout when you're not, crashing at gnarly speeds and breaking your body.
Maybe we should learn how to ride a bike properly.
Well, I did learn. Yeah, we're doing great. Anyways, so that biking season open. It's mid-June, I believe. So, my bike is all set. My downhill bike, my baby, my firstborn.
That's a lie. That's not your first bike.
Oh, you're right. I sold my first one. I needed a bigger one. I needed a gnarlier one. So then I got this one. This one's all dialed in. I got well. There's one thing I have to do. I have to get a new pair of brakes. I have to because I've just gassed my brakes the past 2 seasons. Um, I need burlier brakes. I need like just bigger, like higher stopping, better stopping power. Um, so that's good dialing that in. But just being on the ice is fun. I forgot, it's fun being on the ice and being around, the guys and the dressing room and everything.
Yeah.
Um, that's fun. Kind of like we talked about, the life balance. Yeah, not
Yeah.
working
Yeah.
at night every single night. So that's cool. So coming off of the injury, now I have to cement my mark. So one of the skates I do, not where Bob is, not that skate,
I
but
feel like Bob is a side character in our podcast and he has no clue about it.
a little butthole. So not that skate. I do a skate on like Friday afternoons. There's no referee, there's no scorekeeper. There's an email list. It's very private, and you have to be invited to come out. So it's guys that played like ex-pro, ex-NHL. There's like retired, like if we're in the Denver area, like Milan Hajduk is in our skate, like Kyle Quincy, like Jan Hayda, like Pierre Turgeon. These are like Hall of Famers that are like in this skate. And I'm like, I did that skate for like 10 years playing goalie. And then I got hurt. And so now it's like I have to regain my spot as a regular goalie because like all these goalies want to play out there, right? Like you're
Right.
against ex-NHLers. So now, which is good because I mean, it's fun. It's fun to, I sound like such a dude. It's fun to compete out there, right? Like that's fun. And the guys are all super cool. So that's good. So I'm getting more into that. And yeah, Vikings, Avs made a good trade, the trade deadline. So there's a certain day, it was on Friday, where the rosters freeze. So basically, if a team is trying to make the playoffs, they'll make a trade for like a better goalie or like a better forward. And so this is where you see like big like blockbuster trades happen. So the Avs made one, they made two. One really, really big one. So that's exciting. They've been on a 5-game heater. They won again last night. So I think the Avs can go deep in the playoffs. The Florida Panthers picked up an absolute prick on the ice. He was the captain of a previous team. He was
Yeah.
traded. He's an absolute shithead on the ice, but he wins, and he's a previous captain. He's won the gold medals. He's won the cup. Uh,
Hmm.
he's a he's kind of a honey badger on the ice. So I think the Panthers are going to go very far. So all in all, just being more getting back into hockey more and more. Even though we're getting into the spring summer,
Yeah.
it's still good to be on the ice. Fuck, I forgot how fast some of those guys are like on the ice. Like when you're not having pucks, shot at you 85, 90 miles an hour, you lose that sense. Like you don't normal people don't have things flying at them going 90 miles an hour. So
I
yeah,
don't know how you do it. Like, I have this weird thing when you drive through a multi-story car park and kind of like your ceiling behind you, how you have like higher and lower parts. If I'm driving through it and they are coming like towards me, it messes with my eyes. I don't know how to explain it. It just does. I
yeah.
don't know how you deal with something flying at your like no.
I mean, you get used to it after a while.
Ugh,
Plus, there's times where guys are so good, like the puck won't hit you.
like 3D movies. I can't watch 3D movies because how things like how they come at you, it
Yeah,
like really
yeah,
messes with my eyes. It like gives me a headache real bad. So knowing that you're constantly watching this tiny little thing, like yeah, uh,
yeah.
and you
It's
can't wear your glasses because
no,
yeah,
wear contacts. I have had a contact fall out on the ice before. Maybe in the next couple episodes I'll tell some stories. First time player of the Hall of Famer, first time player of the current NHLer. Those guys are so good. You see like the level, like the tiers of skill level between
yeah,
college player, like wow, this guy's really fucking good. This guy, like a DU Pioneer player, will come out, and then you see like a retired player who hasn't played pro in like 5 years, and he's just like mops the floor with that kid. Like
yeah.
that's pretty cool. So anyway, just being more active with that. What has Kaz Potts been up to? Oh, so
Well,
many things.
I'm trying to think. So last time we talked, my cat had already gone to the vet, right, with the emergency. That's right. And yeah. So I had to take him and my Frenchie, who's right sleeping under me right now, to the vet together. Hit the cat for the checkup and the Frenchie for her annual. And my Frenchie turns into Cujo at the vet. Like, and I think it's because she had a bad experience at the vet. They one time they took her back when she was younger. She was fine for the first few visits, and then she went for something else, and they took her back without me, and they were like taking her temperature and giving her a vaccine like all at the same time. I think it was too much. And ever since after that, she has been Cujo. And I was stressing this appointment. And I booked it with there's a bunch of different vets there. I booked it with my favorite one. And I had my husband with me because obviously we had two pets. Plus, if she goes all Cujo, he's there to help. I took high value treats. I took a toy. I mean, everything. My cat is healing way better and way quicker than my vet had ever hoped. So he initially had suggested some kind of light therapy, but said, don't need it. He's doing great. Like, boom. And then it came to her, and I was like, oh, stressing so bad. But first of all, I love my vet because he's just so good. But we also had a great vet tech, and they just did everything right. They kept her in the room with us. They were like giving her treats and praises, and she was so good. The only time that she got a little Cujo-y was when they had to draw blood. Had it just been like a quick like vaccine, she would have been fine, but they had to stick a needle in her hind leg and wait for it. So she got a bit dodgy then. But other than that, she did so great. And like I cannot sing the praises of my vet like high enough. And we both said like if she can have a few more like positive experiences like that, I think that trauma in her will eventually go away. But she's all good, the cat's all good. So there was that. And then went out on the boat. I mentioned this briefly in our conversation with Peter, I think, that we had gone out on no, I think we talked offline about it. We went out on the boat on Saturday for the first time since before all the hurricanes. So I think the last time I was on a boat or on our boat was either August or September because the hurricanes kind of hit like end of September, beginning of October. And our marina's all been put back together mostly because that got, you know, destroyed. The boats are back where they belong instead of floating around. And um, but there's one boat, I sent you a picture of it that's still, it's like
Yeah, can you explain this?
so it's at so there's dry slips and wet slips, right? So dry strips slips are like you'll see them, they look like big like barn type buildings and they've got racks in them, and your boats will be like in the racks, right? Those are like dry slips. So what happens is you come to get your boat out, they get a forklift, they drive it in, you pick up your boat, and they put your boat in the water. Wet slips are where your boat's just in the water. And some people keep their boats in the water all year round, some people don't. But this picture that I sent you is a boat. It has a cabin on it. So it's like a cabin on the top, and then obviously the hull of the boat, and it's on its side and it's like half in the water. And that's left over from the hurricane. I guess for some reason they haven't pulled it out. Not sure why, but it's been sitting there since probably either September or October, and it's just half immersed in the water on its side,
Yeah.
damaged, obviously. Yeah, crazy. I was surprised to see it, honestly, because when where you put the boat in is at one end of the canal, and then that boat's at the other end.
Yeah.
So I didn't see it initially until we were like right upon it. I was like, dang, like it's still. And then there's another house. I should have taken a picture of it, and I will next time. But as we come out of our canal and go into the Gulf of Mexico, there's like houses along the way. And the new builds are obviously high. So basically, what you do with the new build is you build effectively like a garage, and then your house above it, either a floor or two. And so the lower floor cannot be insured, which is why typically it's like a garage or whatever. They won't insure a lower part of a house. So that's why it's stacked up high. But there's this one house that was a one story that was built on the water. I'm imagining it's from like the 60s or 70s it was built. And nobody lives there. Every time you like drive by it on the boat, it literally looks like it's got a garden lawn chair in the living room, and that's about it. Like there's nothing in the house. It's like I don't know if they just keep that house because it's got a boat dock there. I don't know. But anyway, we drove past it and I literally had to do a double take because it's now up on pylons. And I was like, is that house was like on the floor, like on the ground before. And my husband's like, yeah, no, it was. And so what they did was instead of bulldozing the whole house and then rebuilding, they raised the house. The whole house is now up. So there's four pylons holding the house
Hmm.
and the house. It's crazy. I have to take a picture.
So
Um,
it looks like our the old office building at the magazine.
yes.
Never
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
built.
But it used to be ground level.
Okay.
Crazy. And that is expensive as hell to do. It's not cheap at all because everything gets lifting up, not just the house, but all of your electrical, your plumbing, like everything just, yeah.
Wow.
Plus, it's got to be strong enough to support the structure. And
Yeah.
it's on that little finger. There's water on either side of the street where these houses are. There's water. So it's like a little finger of an island. It's crazy.
Hmm.
But I'll have to take a picture. So there's that. The big news, of course, is my teeth.
Yeah, you're getting some pliers in your mouth on Friday, huh?
Oh, I'm so nervous. Yeah, Friday I get all four of my wisdom teeth taken
Ooh,
out.
man,
I know. I'm like, I
that's
don't
what
know
it
how.
sound like. Yeah, it's gonna
Yeah,
motor right next to your.
it's gonna hurt so. Oh, I can't. Oh, I don't even want to go. They called me this morning to like confirm that I was going. I haven't responded to the
Are you
call.
still going? Are you still around?
I mean, I have no choice. Like I have to do it, right? It's not like because otherwise you're just delaying the inevitable.
Yeah.
And I've already paid for it. So it has to happen. I just I don't want to do it. So yeah, that's like my big thing for this week is Friday lunchtime. They're
How
all
long is it
coming.
supposed to take?
I don't know. It's weird because my husband last week had four fillings, right? And then yesterday he had one more, different side of the mouth. And he was there yesterday for one filling for an hour and a half.
Oh,
I'm like, it took longer to do one filling than it did four. And he's like, yeah, they just couldn't numb me. She
wow.
wanted my lip to go numb, and his lip just wasn't going numb.
So you're gonna
And
be
then,
all whacked out. You could be in there for hours. Well, I did it in high school. What I've heard, it gets worse as you get older
why would you say that?
because you're like
But
really
why would you not? Why would you say that like 2, 3 days before you
really old. Sorry, fam. It'll be over before you know it.
What is wrong with you?
They're professionals. They like you can get all whacked out, couldn't you? Can't.
No, if it was a case of putting me to sleep to do it, I wouldn't be doing it.
Mm.
No, they're just gonna, because they're growing straight. They're not growing funky or anything. They're growing straight. So it would just be a question of pulling them out like a carrot from the
Yes,
ground.
they could just. I think it's. I remember mine were pretty big.
Yeah, because they're long. They're like the biggest teeth in your mouth, aren't they? With the root. Like they're like,
I remember one was like kind of like curled, mate. I think. I remember they had to drill one in half to get it out.
oh my
That was
fucking.
brutal. Uh, and I like the smell of burning. I know you
You
probably don't
just
want to
not
hear
like let's not. Let's just not
this.
do this right
Uh,
now. Just shh.
you'll be all right.
I will be texting you angrily on Friday. Well, here's the thing. I have to eat soft foods,
Oh,
right? So
that's right. I have to
I,
block you on Friday. I
I've
forgot.
decided what I'm going to do on Thursday afternoon is I'm going to go to the store and find a really good ice cream because I feel like that will make me feel better. And I don't have any plans for the weekend. My girlfriend's like, hey, maybe we can just go snooping at some shops somewhere. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure I'll be fine. And then I told her about my appointment. She goes, oh, you won't be going anywhere.
Nope. You're gonna be bedridden from.
So yeah, I don't have any plans. I have a book that I want to read. So I'm gonna do that. So I have that. And apparently they give you like pain, something for the pain.
Yeah,
So I'm gonna do that. And yeah, I have zero plans this weekend, other than to text you my hourly updates on if I'm alive or not.
I'm gonna block it.
So oh, I'm not looking forward to this. So yeah, that's what's going on. And then next week I'll be back on the podcast if I can talk and discussing everything that went on.
Complaining. Yeah. I mean, I would.
Hopefully I'll have nothing to say. They'll just be like, yeah, they put him out and they were fine.
Yeah. What if it would just go? Yeah, they just like numb my mouth and they just it was like four quick yanks and I was out of there. They put a piece of string around the tooth and the other end around the
Slam
doorknob.
the door.
Yeah, just,
Yeah, I don't think that's how that works. So yeah, but that's I don't think I have anything else really to report at this time. Next week is episode 99, and the week after that is episode 100. Can you believe it?
We're throwing around ideas on what to do for it. So stay tuned. This is a good episode though. Peter's a boss. Great interview, and
Yeah.
he's like ready to go too. You talk to people that like don't have that. There's nothing wrong with it. Like they don't have that skill. Some people just like know how to be in front of a camera and can just go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's no like awkwardness or like,
no,
yeah. Yeah, I like him. He's a good dude. Like I said, I feel like you could just go and hang out and
yeah.
out with him would be good. All right. Well, we're going to close up now because my dogs are about out of all of the patients that they have. I don't even know where they are now. But you can find us on LinkedIn, you can find us on YouTube, you can find us on Spotify, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. I always want to say Apple Music, but Apple Podcasts. Um, and you can like, comment, subscribe, leave us a review, ask us a question. Um, that's it, I think. We'll be back next week with horrible tales from the dentist. And in the meantime, have a good week, and we will be back a week from now.
Peace.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back. You will see that we do have a guest with us today. We are super excited to welcome back Peter Kasper, who is the founder and CEO of Terpli. And we were just talking offline about how long it's been. It's been way too long. I think we said August the 4th or something of 2023.
Yeah,
Coming up on two
Uh,
years.
I know, it's crazy. So we have a lot to catch up on, but real quick, I just want to remind our audience about Terpli. Um, you should go back and listen to the other podcast because it was really interesting and really good insight into what we talked about. So if you're looking for it, it was episode 21. So you gotta go way back because we are on 98 currently.
Holy cow.
I know.
I was an early guest.
You were. That's what was so weird. I was like, was he the very first guest? You were actually our second guest, I think we ever had. But to be fair, our first guest, we have worked with him for a very long time. So we've known each other for a while. So you were like our first like not in really interconnected guest. So
It's okay. I still love you guys.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Kasper. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Terpli. So Terpli is an AI-driven virtual bud tender. What we do is provide a guided shopping experience for cannabis consumers as they navigate dispensary websites to help them find the perfect product. And the whole idea is trying to take a science-based approach to how we recommend and really put the right product in front of the right consumer. All this looking at the actual chemistry behind the products. Every single suggestion is backed by a COA or a certificate of analysis, which is the required piece of lab testing data that goes through all the safety requirements. Additionally, all the cannabinoid and terpene data as well. Really trying to narrow that down through an AI model we created that combines the chemistry with different effects from reviews to make sure that we're always analyzing the right information and putting the right products in front of the right people there. So you hit the website, you engage with Terpli, which might be a little plugin, or it might be like a full page that you're navigating towards. You take a really quick questionnaire, and what we'll do is we'll then analyze the entire inventory, all the chemistry and reviews that have been left, to then suggest the right products for that individual.
And I think one thing that I learned last time we talked that I loved about your product was that it remembers you. So, if I go back and have another conversation or a third conversation, it remembers the information. So it's not like every single time that you go, you kind of start over again. It's going to remember the conversations that you've had and be able to really like continue to hone in on your likes, your dislikes, the things you're looking for. So I think that's what I really like about the product. But you're not just online anymore, are you?
No, we are not just online. We
I
have
was so excited about this because we again talked about this offline, but last time we had a conversation, you left us with a teaser that something was coming, or you were working on something new, and then I see you have this amazingly new product, and I really would love to know like more about how it came about, how it works, and are you um are you happy with the progress that this product is making and the usage that people are getting out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the kiosk, that was definitely a big reveal that we had. And one of I think the missing pieces to the Terpli equation here was really being able to impact the in-store experience.
Mhm.
And what we found was that so many people would just be sitting in the waiting room, they'd be browsing it on their phone and getting recommendations. So there was a really big in-person impact that we had. A big part of our experience was being able to benefit the consumer as they're shopping in store as well. And so we decided to focus a lot of our efforts and attention there and try to pick the right partners to go to market with here. And since that point, we've been able to work closely with this group called Alpine IQ or AIQ, who recently bought a e-com platform called Dispense, which has a native kiosk product there. So they were the first ones that we collaborated with and partnered with to then integrate Terpli onto their kiosks and deliver the personalization experience that we have to consumers in store in dispensaries.
How's
Was
that
it
response been?
The response has been great. From the perspective of just being able to scale the product up, it allows us to have deeper penetration, deeper engagement across various customers as well. And we're finding a lot of people use it. The engagement rate for kiosks in general can be pretty variable. For example, we're talking with an operator who gets like 2 orders per day on their kiosks, but we also have some operators that get upwards of like 30 to 40 per day on their kiosks. And that's where we really start to take more of a bigger emphasis and shine in those types of environments.
Was it always a goal to have a kiosk, or was it something that kind of came about organically, as your company grew and you got more customers? Was it or was it always in sort of like the business plan that you'd like to go that way? Because you started off just online, right? Just yeah.
We started predominantly online. It's always been of interest for us. I would say one of the bigger emphasis that we've always had is going to be on partnerships. How can we scale and provide the consumer or the customer what they want? And partnerships has always been the name of the game there. We're not providing the menus, we're not providing the software that a dispensary needs to survive. We're supplementing, we're complementing. And so finding the right partners that'd be willing to go to market with us was a huge component of how we were trying to think about bringing that to market. Um, I would say it's always been there on the roadmap. The biggest thing was just finding the partner that could unlock the opportunity for us, but it was really driven by customer demand. And that's one of the bigger things that we always focus on with our roadmap is going to be what are our customers asking for? We take such a big approach to surveying our customers, to understanding their pain points, how they think we could improve their product itself. And kiosks just kept coming up over and over again. So when the opportunity came up with the AIQ team, we absolutely jumped on it.
And is the entire shopping experience, can you do the entire thing through the kiosk? Like, what I might mean by that is, can they have the help from Terpli and the AI bud tender select their product, pay for their product? Like, some of these fast food restaurants, the whole thing's done at the kiosk and then you just go pick up your product at the end. Is that the same with the kiosks that you have in the dispensaries?
Bingo. Yep. So it's a full end-to-end experience, full end shopper journey. You want to be able to get a recommendation from Terpli, view that product, and check out all on that one screen.
That's fantastic. That is great. Yeah.
Badass. Yeah. There's times where like if I walk into like I mountain bike, I do like downhill mountain biking. And if I have to like find a part like a chain or like a piece of like a brake part or something, I don't really want to talk to anybody. I'd like to just have it sitting like on the counter waiting and I could just walk in. Okay, here's my specs. I need that. I'll pay right now. All right, I'm out. Like that convenience level, that to me is worth more than I'm sure like what I would be paying for the part. Just in and out, bam, bam.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are gravitating towards that as more newer cannabis shoppers become familiar with the industry and start going to dispensaries. You're starting to see a lot of that similar behavior you see with other types of fast food services or other types of industries where it's becoming dominated by kiosks. People don't necessarily always want to talk to someone. If they do, that's great. There's someone there who can talk with them, but you want to also be able to support the people who don't necessarily want to have that experience.
Yeah, actually, because I was thinking, if it was me, I'm not a very people-y person. That's not a secret. But also, you know, especially for people who are like newer cannabis users, or maybe there's a newer product that's come out, maybe they're an introvert, or maybe they're just having a bad day, but they still want the information, but they're just not up for conversation. It's the most perfect way of having a shopping experience, because you could, I mean, you can take the risk of just putting it in your cart and, you know, doing the drive-through if that's available, or delivery, but you're still kind of taking the risk. Whereas if you can use Terpli to, you know, even figure out in the first place if the product's right for you, and you can do it in store, it's like, it's perfect. And also, I think what it does is it frees up the time of the bud tenders who are having conversations, right? Who their customers come in and they really, a lot of the dispensaries now are becoming a lot more community based. So them
Totally.
having time, and quality time with their customers is becoming more and more important, and learning their customers. And so if they have people in store that want to go that way, it gives them more time to do that, because customers like me or Charlie or whoever who just want to do can be in and out. So it's like it really works benefit for both types of customers that these dispensaries are having.
It's all about having that quality interaction.
Yeah.
And whether you don't want to talk to someone and you'd prefer to have everything kind of hand delivered for you, whether you want to talk to someone and really dive in and understand your product itself, it's all about delivering that quality that gets someone interested, loyal, builds that community, like you said, Kaz. And it's about trying to support the journey however you can to really drive that.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to shift gears from the kiosk. Looking at your LinkedIn, what is Tech Tuesdays, and can you give an example or two?
Yeah, I mean, Tech Tuesdays are really the spotlight over various podcasts, news releases, case studies that we've delivered. This exact experience will likely be a Tech Tuesday in the future once our marketing gets a hand on it or gets their hands on this. So this would be a perfect example. I'm pretty sure our last one was a Tech Tuesday we had in the past too. It's really just an opportunity to highlight some of the key reels or larger points that have been discussed in some of the podcasts or other experiences we've had that we think are worth sharing and blasting out to the larger community.
Gotcha, gotcha. And sticking with tech, in terms of SEO, of course, from the last time that we spoke, what's changed on the product, and what worked and what didn't work?
Oh man. So one of the bigger emphasis that we've had over the last year was just focusing on both the customer journey as well as software efficiency. And tech debt's such a real aspect in this space, and one thing that we could spend an entirely other podcast going into, especially when you consider the rise of generative development and how that's really making costs plummet. So all of a sudden you have people who've been building for like 10 years on what's now an archaic system who now have to deal with and reckon with this new wave against what they've previously built.
Yeah.
One of the hardest parts about our early days was to have evidence that there was interest, there was demand, that customers were interested in our product, and thus it was worth pouring resources into from some of the other partners out there, the Dutchies, Janes, Blaze, you name it, of the world. And as a result, we had to do what we could to define our value and really figure out ways of bringing the impact that we knew our product would deliver with very restricted access, resources, whatnot. So a lot of this last year has been understanding and evaluating what we had to build and then how we can improve that so that we can continue to optimize our product and deliver this impact that we know it can bring. One of those is going to be the software efficiency of our product itself. Having a third-party plugin or a third-party script on your site will naturally have a detriment over its SEO score, over its load speeds,
Yeah,
performance,
yeah.
all things like that.
Yeah.
So much of this last year has been spent on how can we optimize our product so dramatically so that we're able to have a minimal impact on the website itself. So there's almost no representation that Terpli is affecting anything, and we're able to just focus on the pure benefit that we can deliver to those dispensary websites and to those consumers itself. So that comes down to having a impact on SEO. It has a positive benefit when it comes to page speed, to load times, to even the layout shifts when it comes to how it interacts with other components on the website. So much of that has been a big focus for us as we try and figure out how to just remove barriers as well as optimize the overall performance of the website.
So is it that when it's loaded onto the website, it plays nicely with everybody else and it doesn't compromise it?
Exactly. And that's what we spend so much time doing, both in terms of how we can load the script itself asynchronously so that we're not affecting the other types of scripts or interactions that might be loading at the same time, to just how it plays nicely with the other components like you mentioned.
Okay. And it shows attribution, right? Like revenue from here to here, or like some sort of to an operator, you can clearly see like, look, here's your ROI. And
oh my gosh, yeah. So talking about the shopper journey, being able to track the customer across every platform we work for from the start of their journey all the way through transaction and even returning back again too.
how's
Not
that
to mention, it was a beast to try and figure out. It was
that?
literally like my main focus for like 6 to 9 months of 2024, but we were able to dial it in for every single ecom platform that we work with right now and create a solution that can be scaled to future ones that we work with, but also in a way that we can track attribution in various dimensions. You want to see same day, 1 day, 3 day, 7 day, 30 day attribution. Every client gets a dashboard where they can toggle that themselves and they can understand what Terpli's impact is across various attribution date ranges.
And that's all real time. So like I can take time to pull up this dashboard,
Mhm.
and then I can go back 7, 28 days, 30 days. Almost like
Yeah.
I'm thinking like GA4, and then like e-commerce purchases almost, and just look at like, here's organic traffic, here's direct, here's email, here's programmatic, here's whatever it is, and then there's like a line item right there. That's like what I'm picturing in my head.
Yeah, so it's basically being able to understand for everybody that touched Terpli, specifically got a recommendation and then click through and then purchase that product, how long did it take for them to then purchase that product? If you look at it from the same, and our standard is same day, we've gotten some interest to see 3 days. We've gotten some interest to align with other types of marketing campaigns and SEO tools, which is why we then allowed it to kind of expand out even further from there. But a lot of it's just being able to specifically dial in how much attribution, how much revenue is credited back to Terpli compared to the website itself. And to kind of take a quick pause there, one of the core value propositions that we deliver for our dispensary partners is a comparison. How did people who use Terpli compare to people who did not use Terpli? Because we can't just say, oh, we had $300,000 flow through our tool.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest objection is, well, what, they would have done that anyways.
Yeah.
How do I know that they benefited from using your tool, or how do I know that they wouldn't have spent that otherwise? So all of a sudden, volume isn't a really accurate representation of the value we deliver. That's your job. From an SEO perspective, you guys bring them in. But that's why we work so effectively with people who do SEO. The whole kind of philosophy is you set them up, we knock them down. And the biggest thing we do is we compare, hey, here's how much revenue went through our tool. Here's the AOV from everybody who used Terpli. Here's the AOV from everybody who did not use Terpli. Conversion rate from Terpli, conversion rate without Terpli, and being able to compare those side by side. If those numbers are negative, we are not doing our job. You should not work with us if those numbers are negative. But thankfully, we've been able to design the product in a way that's scalable and reproducible across all the markets that we work in. For some larger analytics that we've been able to provide, when it comes to Illinois, our most gangbusters market, we are beating carts AOV by plus 42%. Across all of 2024, the average impact that we've had in Illinois is that when people use Terpli, they tend to spend 42% more on their transaction than those who did not.
Wow.
When it comes to Missouri, it's also a pretty great number. That's one of our better markets too. We're currently at 19% right now when it comes to beating carts. Not the same as Illinois, but when you look at all of 2024 across 22 states, we're currently operating in about 250-ish or so dispensary locations across 22 states. We're currently beating carts by 24%. On average, people who use our product, use Terpli, spend about $90 per transaction.
Oh.
So being able to just deliver this over and over, when it comes to conversion rate, what we're also seeing is about a 20% increase against the typical conversion rate that all the menus have on their website itself too. So really leaning into that as the core bread and butter for why dispensaries should work with us in such a savage, brutal, red market that cannabis is right now, because we will help you make more money.
What if someone were to, if a retailer were to sign up in the first 30 days, because SEO takes, 3-4 months, couple months to ramp up. What does it look like with Terpli?
First 30 days are always pretty bonkers for us. You get the shiny new object appeal, which is when customers will go and they'll be like, oh, what's this? I haven't seen this before. And so you'll tend to see you'll see a giant influx. And so most will actually see a massive benefit in the first 3 months just from using us, which is why from a marketing standpoint, when a client might be taking their time signing a deal, it's like, hey, do you know we could be making you this much more money if you signed back when you said that you were going to sign?
Real quick, you were talking about Illinois and Missouri, right? If you look at like your best performing state, Illinois, and then your I guess your least performing state, what would you account for with the disparity of that?
Regulation is a big component here. I'd say Colorado, as much as I love the state itself, is tough. It's just extremely tough, where you have limited regulation when it comes to delivery. So you have a lot more people who are going into the store itself. And if we're not on kiosks, it's harder for people to really go to the website. Just people aren't buying online quite as frequently. And one of the reasons we went in-store for kiosks is to better track attribution. Because when people are just on their phone, waiting in line, using Terpli to get a recommendation for a product, we don't have that ability to tie attribution when they make a checkout in person. So we're seeing engagement, but we tend to see revenue plummet, just because the regulatory environment isn't conducive for people to be motivated to actually make those purchases either for pickup or delivery itself.
Right.
So regulation's a pretty big play there. On that same note, you think of a state like Oklahoma, one of our very first state that we launched in. And the craziest thing I remember seeing, and I may have even mentioned this last time on the podcast, but there was a point where the retailer we worked with had a deal of selling an ounce of concentrates for $60. And when you think about the price per gram of a concentrate at that level, or just the amount that a retailer in Oklahoma has to sell to have the same revenue as someone in any other state, it's like you need to have like 5 to 6x the traffic, the volume, just to justify and get to that same revenue level as a different state. And because of that, because you have to have so much volume going through a market like that, it is hard for us to justify the cost, quite honestly. And so price considerations, delivery and pickup, kind of online restrictions, all of those things paint a picture for a market that likely isn't the best for Terpli.
I know we talked a little bit about you guys have been doing some case studies. Is there like one case study that's like your favorite, or that like you'd like to highlight, or maybe there's one out there that when you actually sat and did all the research was like, whoa, like blew your mind a little?
Oh my goodness.
One of them on your Tech Tuesday, right?
Yeah, one of the Tech Tuesday ones are good. We also just published one very recently. I think marketing will be upset if I don't lob this one out. But it's being able to actually quantify the value of combining Terpli with a loyalty program like Alpine IQ.
Okay.
And some of the metrics that are coming out of this are just quite honestly bonkers when it comes to various interactions. And I say interactions because there are various ways that a shopper using Terply can engage with AIQ as a loyalty platform. One of which is, of course, just signups, people going through and being able to then have Terply as a mechanism for signing up for loyalty. Another is going to be when they get a first time reward. People have used Terply for the first time. They can enter their information to get a small allocation of loyalty points. Same with leaving reviews too. And so what we've typically found is that from a signup perspective, we tend to facilitate around 15 to 20% in increase in loyalty signups. When it comes to lifetime value, that is one of the coolest aspects and metrics that AIQ is able to define and track. So the lifetime value for someone who buys a Terply recommendation goes up by 119% for that given dispensary. That's the lowest.
Whoa.
For people who leave a review in Terply and they get those loyalty points back, 319% increase in lifetime value. For people who do both, it goes up to 543%. The combination of having a Terply with a loyalty platform like AIQ just skyrockets the lifetime value that a given shopper has or a dispensary has for a given shopper. It's really there to curate the loyalty. It's to build the community like you were talking about, Kaz. But it's that whole idea that if you give someone that incentive, if you give them that reward, they feel engaged. They feel a connection to that dispensary itself. And you see them coming back a lot more frequently, spending more. And that's where you see that huge spike in lifetime value.
And honestly, like that is outside of obviously revenue. Customer loyalty is probably a number one priority for dispensaries. We just had a podcast with Lisa Williams from the Toke Agency on, and she and her women-led team do some amazing work with like social media and things, but they really do focus heavily on loyalty programs. And we were just discussing the exact same thing about how important it is to these dispensaries to figure out how to get customers to remain loyal to them in a market where it feels like every 5 minutes a new dispensary comes along, bigger, brighter, like this deal, that deal. And just the work that goes in order to just keep your customers and those numbers that you just said were like insane.
I mean,
putting the two of you and Alpine IQ and the loyalty together, and you're getting that kind of lifetime. That's those numbers
bonkers. It's bonkers. And what it's really, I'd say, proving out is that loyalty is the most important factor when it comes to building your business and competing with some new operator that may have gotten a huge influx of capital through whatever means that they have access to, who can now discount themselves to hell just to try and stay competitive or make a splash in the market. Like those types of interactions and engagements are so important for really building that loyalty and fostering those relationships.
Yeah, those numbers are that's crazy. So how that's one of your that's the one that your marketing team were like, make sure you say this when you go.
And the case study is up on terpli.io for all those who are interested in checking it out and seeing more of the details.
Is it on your LinkedIn as well? I think Charlie mentioned it was on your LinkedIn at some point.
Yes. Yes, it is. I try to blast out everything that we push out from marketing.
So in closing, and with a focus on keeping your marketing team happy, I heard this question being asked on a podcast, and I thought it was really interesting, and I think it can apply to literally anybody. I know that as a co-founder and CEO, you've done a lot of podcasts, a lot of marketing, a lot of these type things. What is one question that you wish you'd been asked?
From the podcast perspective?
Any perspective.
Any perspective.
And I'm also going to want the answer to the question. So
well, I'm gonna give two answers. One's a shameless plug.
Okay.
It's over a new feature that we had because a big focus for us as well, especially this year, is trying to engage more people and reduce friction on websites. That's following last year's software efficiency improvements. But a big aspect now is like, how do we better connect the dispensary to the shopper? Because yes, you might have people that don't want to talk to someone, and thus we're a perfect fit for guiding them through a shopper journey. However, there are certain instances, and this is a ridiculous story that happened, but we had a client previously get hacked. And all of a sudden, there were 15 to 20 versions of their website out there that somehow were taking Bitcoin and
Ooh.
giving orders and taking Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden, completely off. They would just abandon the shopper, everything else. And so the dispensary literally had the police called on them because some people reported them for it. And one of the bigger considerations that we had was, how do you get them closer? Terpli right now is providing an avenue and an outlet where people can not engage with the dispensary, not engage with a live person. And in this case, they wanted more ways to engage with their shopper, to let them know that they are real and actually there, and like actually there to support and deliver them the products that they're looking for. So one of the bigger integrations that we just built out is one with this group called Live Chat, which is effectively a conversational based support inquiry type plugin. It's incredibly popular across other industries. And one of the bigger feature requests we got was like, hey, why don't you make Terpli conversational? Why don't you make some LLM wrapper where you can field questions, field inquiries, and kind of navigate them across, the Q&A for the dispensary itself. And our thinking there is like, that's not special in our eyes. There are so many people that are doing this. There's so many established services that already do this to begin with.
Yeah.
So what we ended up building was a live chat integration where people can live chat with a bud tender. They can leverage this service, which will soon be expanding to things like Zendesk and other types of conversational support functions where people can simply just raise it up, chat with them, connect with a bud tender. We would rather work with an established service that has already figured this out, that will continue to grow organically, that our clients already use, than try to do it all ourselves necessarily.
Yep.
So live chat is one of the newest features and integrations that we can now offer to all of our clients. Super simple in the way it works, and has provided a great mechanism for shoppers to connect directly with the dispensary in whatever way they want.
That's great. That's like best of both worlds then. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'd say that's one of those things that shamelessly I have to bring up.
Nope, that's totally fine.
Marketing.
That's fine.
That's the
I
same
just thought it was a great question because, you think about these people that they've probably been asked the same question hundreds of times. I'm sure you have been asked the same question hundreds of times. And I imagine if it was me, I'd sit there and be like, why has nobody ever asked me whatever it might be? Like, it might seem like a really obvious question to me, but nobody's ever asked me,
Can I turn the question back on you guys?
Sure. I don't have an answer, but Charlie does.
Yeah, Charlie, you have an answer.
What's something I haven't been asked? Just how freaking hard SEO can be at times, and like how laborious it is. And I feel like there's this other crappy agencies that are ruining the market. That like irritates me. But if you find a good one, it can literally flip a retailer. Like it works. Like when it's good and clean and sustainable and research, and it can. Okay, so that's work stuff. And also, okay, something like more lifestyle, like how important it is. And I learned, actually, Kaz Potts would yell at me, shocking, to go outside and like have a life outside of work. Like that's pretty important.
Yes, the work-life balance. And I know you're a co-founder of a company, so you get it too. But there's definitely an element of when you're building something, you have to not only are you like wanting to do it because you're believing in the project and you know it's going somewhere, you can see it and you can feel it, but you understand that it's going to take every hour that you're awake in order to get where you're going. Like there's that element of it, but there's also an element of like if you don't open your eyes, get your head out, get some fresh air, do something with yourself, it will just swallow you up and your productivity is not going to be at the level that it could be. And I know I can only speak for Charlie because I lived it with him. There were days when I would be like, have you been outside? Have you left your place? And he hadn't. The man literally hadn't. And he was like door dashing everything.
I will say, I was like a DoorDash, like triple platinum customer.
Yeah,
but
you were their favorite. You were the whale.
So like unhealthy, and I understand, especially at the beginning, you know, the excitement that you have and understanding, and then when you've overcome an obstacle that you've been dealing with for like 6 weeks, and it was more simple than you could imagine, and I get that. But the work-life balance is such an important thing. And for me, like I have a family and animals and the whole thing. So like I couldn't possibly live in that kind of bubble, but I do understand how easy it would be to get into that kind of bubble, for sure.
For me, the idea of stillness is incredibly like sacred almost, where you have a million things that you could be thinking about, a million things that you can do. And I'm naturally ADHD, so my brain is already bouncing off the walls. One of my best friends from graduate school had this whole mantra, and I catch up with him like every single week. This was during COVID too. And it all started where we'd end one of our calls. I'd fill him in on what I'm doing with Terpli, the advancements that I've had and everything else. He's like, all right, cool. This is great. Glad to wrap this up. Now do me a favor. Show me your favorite corner. I think that one. He's like, cool. Go stare at it for 5 minutes. Don't do anything else. Just stare at it for 5 minutes.
Like the guy in Blair Witch Project at the very end, he's like staring at the wall.
Basically, it's just like, do nothing. Turn your brain off. Just go stare at a wall. Do not think at all about anything and just appreciate what you've done. Recognize that you will be moving a mile a minute no matter what, whenever you can. So find those opportunities. If you can't find them naturally, carve it out. And so he was this reminder to just go and carve out this space to find stillness, because that's one of the hardest things, especially as a C-suite, that you can find, especially when it comes to cannabis too.
Yeah, that's such great advice. That is like literally like if you don't carve it out, it won't happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, Charlie, you should have been standing in a few more corners, that's for sure. Honestly, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this man would not leave for like days upon days upon days at a time. It was shocking. Everything was DoorDash, Ubers. It was.
I get it, man. I get it.
I mean, and to what end, right? He has a very successful business. Like he's in a good spot, happy. But
Anyways.
Yeah. I mean, he's annoying as hell, but
anyways,
yeah. Anyway, we're going to wrap up now on that note. But I do want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been
thanks
great.
For taking the time, man.
This time won't be a year and a half. Next time, hopefully, we'll get our stuff.
Hoping so. And Charlie, Cass, thank you guys so much for the invitation. Great seeing you both.
Of course. Next time it'll be in person, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Exactly. I'll let you know when I'm in Denver this summer.
Good. Let's do it. All right. Peace.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the High Rankings podcast, brought to you by Dispensary-Growth, the preeminent SEO agency for dispensaries. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you found value in the insight and the tips we shared. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're feeling super generous, we would love it if you left us a review. If there's a specific topic you'd like us to cover in a future episode, or if you have any questions, you can go ahead and find us on LinkedIn or YouTube. We'll see you next time.